Welcome everybody to the Napa Valley Film Festival Culinary stage this year, 2019. I'm Amanda Haas, and I'm so excited to be back here with you all. I don't know if any of you were attending last year, but I was here last year as well. Well, welcome back. This is, I think, I don't get a chance to go see many films, but I think that this is the place to be all weekend long. It's so much fun, and I can't believe we get to start off with such an amazing group of people today. So before I introduce the chef and winemaker, I can't wait to introduce you to Michael Leigh, who's the filmmaker of this beautiful film, A Taste of Sky, and we're going to watch a clip.
How can I have the right to dream of something else on behalf of Bolivia? But that was my feeling, that there seemed to be also a longing for a strong national identity and a wish to be proud of who you are and where you come from and what is your heritage. But it takes a certain effort to capture young people's minds. But food is maybe one way to do it.
We're so lucky to have him here today, too, to tell his story as we get going with food. But let me introduce Chef Tu David Phu, he's everything. He's a dear friend of mine. We're fellow ambassadors for Whole Foods Market, but you might know him from Top Chef Season 15. He's a James Beard Award-nominated chef for a show that he did. He's just remarkable. So, Chef Tu, come on out through our magical door. Woo! Hi.
Hi.
This is such a fun way for me to start off this weekend of activities because Chef Tu is one of my favorite chefs of all time, and I think it's because you found a way to combine your Vietnamese roots with
Absolutely.
Growing up here, and everything you make is magical. So can you tell us what we're going to make today?
Awesome. My recipes are driven by the matriarchs of my family. My mother extremely inspires me. I had some fine dining training, but I don't think my food tasted excellent until I started learning and cooking with my mother.
So nice.
Yes, let's give it up for my mom.
Yay!
Mama.
So what are we making today?
So my parents hail from an island called Phu Quoc, and that's an island in Vietnam, the most southern tips of Vietnam. It's actually closer to the shores of Cambodia. Small, tiny island, so we eat lots of seafood. And one of my favorite things is fish cake. And you know, you guys go to ramen shops, noodle shops, any sort of Asian store, you see fish cake, and it's always that white sliver with the orange dye around it. Like, it's oftenly made with crab or shrimp.
Right.
There's more to it than that, you know? Like, fish cake isn't this artificial thing. Fish cake is this beautiful thing where you take fish and you make it into something beautiful. And in this instance, we're using local halibut.
Oh, fantastic.
Halibut seasoned, super fresh, caught off the coast of Half Moon Bay.
Okay.
We take it and we chop it up, and then we pound it until all that meat comes together. It turns into what the French would call a mousseline, also known as a farce. In layman's terms, think of it as a fish sausage without any red meat or poultry added to it.
I like it.
And what we do is we use these beautiful ingredients. There's halibut here.
Okay.
We're going to add a little bit of chopped garlic. Okay.
I love this.
We're going to do a little bit of shallot.
Not a ton of ingredients, really simple, which I love. I feel like when you have great ingredients, you don't have to overdo it, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, if you notice, I'm not speaking in specific grammages and teaspoons. I get this from my mom.
I like it.
When I put my recipes out there, it's Chef Amanda as well. It's just a reference point,
Yeah.
but then you put as much as your body is willing to tolerate. So, for example, if I put too much sugar, and if you don't like the sugar, just cut back on the sugar. Don't put the sugar at all. Same thing with the pepper, same thing with the salt.
I say with heat, right? A lot of people have different tolerances for that. And I'm curious too, because what are these other ingredients we're going to put in here?
Oh, I jumped ship, didn't I?
No, you didn't jump ship at all, but I'm looking at this because I'm curious how it's going to pair with the wine. We also have Steve Greenberg here from Sterling Vineyards, which is part of Treasury, and he's going to pour you're drinking a Chardonnay that we're going to have with this. So Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, welcome.
But I'm kind of curious what these other main ingredients are and then how they'll pair with the wine.
So this is fish sauce.
Okay.
Do you guys know what fish sauce is or how it's used or the history of it? Some yeses, some maybe. So just to kind of go over it to make sure. Fish sauce, people often associate it with a substitute for salt, used like a soy sauce, which is true. But there's something super important about red boat fish sauce. You see this number 40 on it? It's a measure of nitrogen. Why is there a measurement of nitrogen on this bottle?
Why? I have no idea.
All right.
I literally don't. This is exciting.
So, everything that has lots of protein has a lot of amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. And naturally, amino acids emit nitrogen. The more nitrogen something emits, the more amino acids is in that product. Everything in the universe, every living thing has some sort of amino acid in it. All plants, all vegetables, seaweed, fish, chicken, pork, beef, what have you, eggs, milk, everything has amino acids. Coincidentally, this is made with anchovies. Anchovies have tons of amino acids. Those anchovies are salted, it is fermented. All the other non-amino acid stuff gets separated from the amino acids, which becomes in this form of this liquid. And you're left with sodium and lots of amino acids, which also translates into umami. You guys heard of umami, right?
Umami, right.
So going back to that main point, when you use fish sauce, it's not just a salt substitute. You're adding amino acids to your dish. You're adding more umami flavor. You're adding more savory flavor.
I think it's interesting too, because a lot of people say they don't like anchovies, but maybe they'll have fish sauce. They think that's great. I don't think people understand how often anchovy is used, a lot by chefs as well, to add that depth of flavor and umami. We just don't know what it is,
Absolutely.
So it's magical.
Absolutely. Like Caesar dressing wouldn't be Caesar dressing without anchovy.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So there's fish sauce.
Okay, great. So now what do you do?
Now we add the garlic.
Okay.
Like I just did the shallot.
And you do the shallot really finely minced.
Absolutely. And then we're going to add a little bit of fish sauce.
Okay. And you're just looking to kind of bind this. Like, you don't use egg? Do you use egg or anything like that to bind?
There is a little bit of egg.
It's just not here. We're
It's
gonna
just not here. I'm going to pretend
Sorry I brought it up.
Okay? Can we have the egg?
I looked in the fridge. We've only got water.
That imaginary egg's about 2 eggs right there. Okay? And then we're going to add a little bit of sugar. Why is sugar important in Southeast Asian cuisine? Sugar is important. 2 things to consider. In Southeast Asia, traditionally, historically, they always use palm sugar. Palm sugar has an extremely low glycemic index, meaning it's not as sweet.
Oh, nice to know.
So if you want to use this recipe and you want to keep the sugar low, or there's people that's sugar sensitive, I highly encourage you to get palm sugar, which you get at Whole Foods.
Right. You know what's so scary? I cook, I write books, and make so many recipes, and I shop at Whole Foods all the time. I'm like, that's Whole Foods organic cane sugar right here. Like, I recognize it, which is crazy. But it's another great thing to bring up because I do buy sugar organically in terms of worrying what to buy versus not. And this is this is perfect for substitute to palm sugar, which is a little harder to source as well.
Absolutely. And organic whole food sugar is great as well. I personally notice, and do you notice this, Amanda, too, is less sweeter than the white commercial?
Definitely. But I love how it bakes. I love how it works in recipes for me. So I just use this all the time now.
It just feels clean, doesn't it?
Right?
Like,
yeah, a little bit better.
So once again, the sugar is used in this recipe not to make it sweet, but it just helps to round out the that fermentation smell and that fermentation flavor.
Got it.
Right?
And does it caramelize it more? Just the sugars in it, will it make things brown more? You're not using enough to matter.
It'll help caramelize as well. That's a great point.
Okay.
And it'll help caramelize this as well because we're going to be frying it.
Got it.
So it'll help give it some color.
I'm so fired up for this. This is amazing.
I'm a high fiver. We're going to give like 20 high fives to the whole show.
We're going to have to get Steve and Michael in on the high fives too when we eat. So
there's a little white peppercorn.
Okay.
That's been ground.
Do you do that just for color, or do you think there's a difference in flavor with white?
Absolutely a difference in flavor. I feel that the spice in white pepper It's more back throat, and the spice and black pepper is in front.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So just a little bit of both. And once again, these are preferences. If you don't, some people can't stand the flavor of white peppercorn.
Right.
So I just stay away from it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, and there's a little bit of cornstarch.
Got it. And that goes right into it.
Correct. I have this pre-made slurry.
Oh, look at that.
And just know that in traditional recipes, there isn't any cornstarch.
Okay. This is your take on it.
This is my take on it.
Got it.
Traditionally, when this recipe is made, my grandmothers, my aunties have a big wooden mortar. They put it in the bowl and they're pounding it for about 45 minutes.
Wow.
So I've modified this recipe for you all to do it in your home kitchens. And
Thank you.
I wouldn't ask you guys to pound away for 45 minutes. I don't use cornstarch as much, but I think for this purpose, to save our arms and arthritis, I think a little bit of cornstarch is okay.
Okay.
Right?
And it's interesting too because for any of you coming back, I can't have gluten. So I was really excited to see cornstarch because I'm always looking for substitutes, whether it's rice flour, cornstarch, but this really does work as a great thickener and binder in sauces. Like you would do a roux or something like that instead if you were cooking with it. Okay.
I love cornstarch as a thickener. Arrowroot's a great one as well.
Yeah, right. Okay, delightful.
Tapioca starch is another one. It's a very cheap alternative in terms of like a special flour.
Right.
Tapioca thickens pretty well as well.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
A little bit goes a long way.
So while we're shaping those, I would love, Michael, for you to share with everybody. Has your film shown yet this weekend, or when is it being shown?
No, actually.
Oh, let's flip your mic on.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
There we
Hi.
go. Hi. No, so our film hasn't shown this weekend yet. The first time is today at 1 p.m.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
And do you know where it is?
It's going to be playing at the Native Sons Theater in St. Helena.
Okay, terrific. I had a chance to just get a sneak preview, but it's a really beautiful story. And can you share with people how you wound up in Bolivia and how you decided to make this film?
Of course. So just a little background about the film. It's called The Taste of Sky, and it takes place primarily in Bolivia, which is statistically one of the more financially challenged countries of Latin America. But the story is about a Danish chef who originated from Copenhagen. He founded a restaurant called Noma, which won Best Restaurant in the World 4 times, multiple Michelin stars, and really kind of changed the whole view about Nordic cuisine. After he won the first of many Best Restaurant in the World awards, he decided to go to Bolivia to find a fine dining restaurant and also cooking school for underprivileged youth that taught indigenous kids how to do fine dining.
Wow.
So the story follows 2 students and kind of parallels Klaus is the Danish chef, his personal story against these students, and you kind of realize the connections and intergenerational mentorship that happens through food. So I found the story because I was backpacking in Bolivia. I was just vacationing.
Crazy.
And I was looking for a place to eat one night in La Paz, which is one of the capitals. And I went on Google, I looked up restaurants in La Paz, and at that point, it wasn't really a robust food city. But there was an article on Food and Wine magazine that said, "Is the world's next best restaurant in La Paz, Bolivia?" And I was like,
Why
sign
not?
me up, yeah.
Let's find out.
So I went there, and I had no idea that it was also this philanthropic endeavor, but I sat down, and throughout the dinner, the waiter was kind of informing me about how it was a cooking school, and they were teaching these kids from these very challenged upbringings how to do fine dining.
Amazing.
And I was jealous. I was like, I want to learn fine dining. But I started hearing about these students' personal stories, and I kind of asked them, like, when is the documentary coming out? Because I figured with this high profile of a chef and this really inspiring story, this had to be a Bourdain episode or something.
A moment, right.
And they said, there's no documentary coming out. And I was like, I was 22, 23 years old, and I said, hey, I'm a filmmaker. Like, can I do something for you guys? And they said, yeah, if you come, we're going to take you to the Amazon and show you how we crocodile hunt and find all these crazy Amazonian fruits. And I was like,
okay.
that sounds great. Let's do it.
Magical.
And now I'm here.
And now you're here. It is really an amazing story that he stumbled upon it, and by the power of the internet, you're like, oh, where should I eat tonight? And this is what happens. It's really, really incredible. And if any of you know Noma and the story behind that, it's amazing how these two worlds collide. So I really hope you have a chance to see the film today. We're very excited for you. Congratulations. Yeah. Okay, so now we get to enjoy this amazing fish cake. What is next in this process for us, Chef?
So in the next step, just to kind of once again save our arms
Right.
from 45 minutes to an hour of pounding,
Yes.
I have the help of a food processor.
Yes, I love this handheld. DeLonghi is making some really interesting tools. And so this works like a food processor with a chute, but also a stick blender.
You know what I love about this? I used this earlier. I'm going to use it again now.
Okay.
But the blade on this thing is incredibly sharp.
Okay,
And
let's-
usually home commercial wear,
Right.
especially their food processors, often go dull.
Right.
So
Fired up.
yeah, let's do it. Hear the turbocharged power on this thing.
So you're just going to kind of pulse it, but you want it really pureed. Like, so you're making up for the work of your aunties by...
Absolutely. So the science factor of this thing is that we're going to chop everything up and think of the fish as a dough. When you're making a dough for a pasta, for bread, you have granules of flour, you add water to it.
Right.
And as you mix it more, all that gluten comes together to get more texture.
Okay.
So right now we're breaking everything apart to make it into like literally flour,
Okay.
right? And then from here, we're gonna take it out and we're gonna add it to the paddle attachment.
Oh, look at you. Okay.
And what the paddle attachment will do is it's going to make it come together as if it were a dough.
So are you going to put it on low and just kind of let it work around, or you fire it up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're gonna put it on low and we're gonna mix it for about, I would say at least 30 minutes or so. So oppose your arm using the paddle
Okay.
attachment. Okay.
You figured out how to make it go back down. Oh, nice. I love it.
I just found out this thing, Amanda was telling me, that it heats from the bottom. So meaning you can make béarnaise and
could.
hollandaise at home.
Right. I used a model a couple years ago. I'll have to ask them if this is the same, but you could literally cook in it as well, which was
That's
really
insane.
interesting. In Europe, at least, they have that way, right?
I'm sure you can make meringues in here, right?
It'd be like a big space saver.
Right?
So cool. I love it.
Okay, so we're going to,
I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look around yet either, but when I walked in today and I looked up behind us, Blanc Creatives, who's providing all of the cookware, but they also make all of these beautiful tools by hand in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I'm so happy to have them here. I'm looking at the cutting board. I've got cutting board envy right now. Just beautiful, beautiful pieces. So feel free to take a look while you're here today. What a beautiful setup too. It's like a lounge up there. You can just go hang out.
right? And I love this thing. I've been using this for the fish and for the batter as well. And this is a better non-stick option than all your silicone
Oh my
plastic spatulas at home.
But they made it thin
Right.
enough where you can get under foods, which I love.
Absolutely,
You know, like
right?
a thin
Scraping the
spat.
batter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so good. They're just all unique.
So we don't have 45 minutes.
Now we have magic.
TV magic, right? Thank you, Julia.
Oh, look at that. Drum roll, please.
Drum
okay,
roll,
so this is
right?
what it's going to look like.
So this is just a small batch of what that would be.
Okay. I'll get this out of your way.
I love tabletop fryers. It makes everything super safe when you fry, opposed to having a big skillet or a Dutch oven on a stove. The kids may come by, they might grab the handle, it's too hot. I love these Fry Daddies because they have their own lid.
Okay.
And it'll clearly let you know when it's set on.
Which I love too, because temperature matters so much when you're frying. If it's too
Absolutely.
low, it's going to absorb too much of the fat, right?
Absolutely.
Too much of the oil. Okay. So it's at 320. Do you like that temp?
Through TV magic, I don't think this is hot. So remember how we had
It's really going to be magical.
Yeah, it's really going to be
I'll see if I
magical.
can fire it up at all. Well, you know what we can do is we can at least taste the finished result. Everybody's already had a chance to taste it. We can try one, and we can talk about the wine pairing with it. So Steve, who's from Sterling Vineyards, which is part of Treasury Wine Estates, is pouring. You poured the 2018 Behringer, is that
Yes,
right?
it's our private reserve Napa Chardonnay. It's very classic nose on the essence of, you'll taste a little creme brulee, a little rich citrus on the nose. Very creamy, very soft, beautiful fruit such as pineapple, mango, and tangerine. This is coming from right outside of Yountville, Oakville. It's about 10 months on French oak.
Wow. And we're saying we're just going to pretend like this is sizzling now, because now all of the power went out for that. But we
If we could get help from the audience, like we need sound effects of like a fryer.
sizzle, 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 and you've shaped it.
You guys ready? I shaped it. Like we're making it work, people. We're making it
Shaped
work,
it.
right? You guys ready for the sound effects? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Stop, be careful. Be so careful.
It's going crazy.
Luckily, we have a guard for it. So funny, but you just do little teaspoons of it.
Yeah, the way my mother does it and the way my aunties do it, and they do it a lot better than I can. You know, they're the experts. But they just kind of free form shape it.
Go
They
fancy
do a little
quenelle
ball,
action.
like fancy little quenelle.
They
Smash it and then they just scoop it in.
So it cooks quickly.
So it cooks quickly. So
Right.
they don't have to be the perfect shape. I think there's beauty in imperfection. You know, when things are too perfectly shaped,
Right.
I feel like there's no soul and no taste to it.
This
so.
is why you're my friend. I don't make pretty food. I make food that tastes good, but it's never pretty.
Your food's amazingly beautiful.
you're kind.
I love your food. Your food's earthy. It feels like it was made
Homegrown.
and resembles the way it came from.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think of the pairing with the fish and the wine? You love it? Steve, what do you think? What do you think about the
I think it's the right balance for a seafood.
Right?
Absolutely, because of the citrus balance.
Okay. But a heavier Chardonnay, you like to break it up with the, I'm just curious with the fish sauce, what that does to everything, right?
And then I just want to ask the audience, like, there is quite a bit of fish sauce in there, but you guys taste it? You guys don't, right? So that's the thing about fish sauce. The way you use it, there are ways to use it where you balance everything out. Just as if you're using vinegar in a salad, you balance it out with oil.
Right.
Just if you put something with salt, you balance it out with black pepper, right?
Exactly.
So there's a balance to everything, and if it's not tolerable for you, I would just use less of it.
And what about the sugar? Can you take, no, it's just a balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty fantastic.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So if you wanted to do this at home, could you make the fish mixture like the morning of and fry it up later in the day? Or does it have to be done on the spot?
Absolutely, you can. There's no substitute of things being made instantly in that moment.
Right.
But you can make the fish cake mix ahead of time and freeze it.
Okay.
But the only thing is, if you defrost it, you have to
Right.
pull it from the freezer and let it defrost about 2 days in your fridge.
Got it.
Yeah, because running it under running water and that
All
jazz,
of that,
it's just
no,
not going to
forget
work.
it.
Yeah.
But it seems like you could. You could at least get it done in the morning and then have time to do some other things if you were cooking
Absolutely.
other things and then fry them up at the last minute for people.
Absolutely. I would highly recommend using a food saver. If you have a food saver, that's the best way to freeze food.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah,
That's
zero
amazing,
oxygen,
right?
no moisture. Absolutely.
Amazing. Does anybody have questions for Chef? Oh, yes, we've got lots of questions.
yeah.
And filmmaker, let's start right here.
What's the weightage on that? I think it was 2 pounds. So that would be about 5 to 6 2-ounce balls per order.
16, 8, wait.
I'm sorry.
Per order.
It's 16 ounces in a pound, so
Yeah,
2 8
right.
balls. So eight balls per order. That would be like 4 portions, 2 balls per person. So I would say about 16 balls. Is that right? And then I would say 2 balls per person would be a good
Yeah,
portion.
that's nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Especially like at a party, if you're doing a reception platter. 16 balls total for that recipe. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, I can repeat the question too. So if you ask me, let me repeat it back. There's a question right here. Hi, I see you.
Yes.
She asked if you dip it in anything.
Yes. You could dip it in, one of my favorite things, to dip it in some sort of fermented chili. I think sriracha, just plain old sriracha rooster sauce is great with this.
Sriracha, straight up.
Right?
Yeah, I'm a baby though. I can't do a lot of heat, but I mean, I could do a little.
If you can't do heat, what I would recommend is a little bit of sesame oil,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of salt. That's perfect. And it keeps it gluten-free as well, too.
Right. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome.
Other question, yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned eggs,
Yes.
mixing it in, but in the ingredients it doesn't list eggs, so how many did you add to the recipe?
He's asking if there are eggs in the recipe to bind it.
I would write in, for that recipe, 2 pounds, 1 whole egg. One
One
large
whole egg, which isn't a
Thank you,
lot.
sir. Yeah. So it's just there. The most important thing about that egg is there's the yolk in there for fat. The white in there is to kind of fluff everything up, so it's somewhat soufflés when it fries.
That's fun.
Okay? Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Talk about the different kinds of seafood you could use in this and what taste effect.
Oh, that's a great question. What different types of seafood could you use instead of this is halibut?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I found that cooking on both the East Coast and the West Coast, Just in a general rule, I like to stick to West Coast fish because West Coast fish is a little bit firmer. You find more of the flakier fish on the East Coast. And that's the same for crab, too. I think it's Dungeness crab season. It opened on November 2nd.
Yep.
If you're able to get your hands on Dungeness crab, this recipe is great for Dungeness
Would be
crab.
delicious.
Yeah. However, just as a ratio, you can't use 100% Dungeness crab. I would do a 50 ground chicken, and then the other 50% Dungeness crab, just so it holds up in texture.
The texture thing. Oh, but that's a really great suggestion. A lot easier than picking all that crab, hand picking it yourself too.
Right,
But you could
yeah.
certainly have your fishmonger do it for you if you
Absolutely.
don't want to go through all of it yourself, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Any other questions? Yes. Oh. She asked if you can use any herbs that you like.
Absolutely. I would just try to stay away from the softer herbs that will turn brown while cooking.
Got it.
Reminder that this is going into a fryer. So things like cilantro may taste great, but it won't look great. And if you do decide to use the soft herbs, in particular or specifically parsley or cilantro, I would use the stems. Being Southeast Asian, my mother has always taught me that all the flavor is in the stem.
That's interesting.
People don't like to eat it as much because it may be toothy.
Right.
However, if you get a really sharp knife and you shave it very, very, very thin, as if you were slicing chives,
Right.
it adds amazing flavor and pop to your dish. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to use your stem as opposed to feeding it to the chickens.
Yeah, absolutely. Use everything. That's so great. Well, I am so excited you are all here with us this morning. Michael, if you get a chance to go see Michael Leigh's film today, A Taste of Sky, please, please do. And also, I want to thank everyone who's making this entire event possible. So Monogram, which we're going to cook on all weekend long. Blanc Creatives, if you get a chance to check them out. Treasury Wine Estates, DeLonghi, and of course, Whole Foods, who's responsible for bringing us here too. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chef. So fun to have you.
Thanks, man.